Hey, what's up everyone? Now, I got something to show you today that I've been wanting to break down for ages now. And today we'll be comparing the Cloud Defensive REIN 1.0, 2.0 Micro, and the 3.0 version. And then you can see where each version of the REIN shines and if the performance is the right fit for you. All right though, let's get started. Now, as I said, we're going to be comparing the three different REIN lights and see how their different performance works between the three different versions. But I'm sure you want to see how other lights compare to these, but this video is just focused on the actual REIN lights. And so then it's not 38 minutes long comparing it to all the other lights that I have. And then after we do this video, we'll compare some other lights to these. So sound off in the comments on exactly which lights you want to see and which ones do you think will beat the REIN lights. All right, though, before we get too far into our comparison, though, let's talk a little bit about who Cloud Defensive is. Now, Cloud Defensive is a company that prides itself on optimization, where they demand products that just work better. And Cloud Defensive really steps in and gets to work when there's a product on the market that just doesn't live up to what it should do. And then doing this all with strict quality control standards and then keeping an actual inventory that meets demand. No stupid weekly product drop emails here. God, I hate those. And I do avoid getting into the politics of it all, but I do enjoy the stance that Cloud Defensive takes on how they operate. And it probably does say a lot that I actually have every version of the REIN that's ever been released. But let's get into the comparison, and as all three lights come with the same stuff, I'll first start out with showing you what you get when you order it. Then we'll go over the basics of the REIN housing and compare the three different versions we have. Then we'll show you how to mount it all up with the included mount, and then talk about some options that aren't Picatinny. Then we'll wait till it's dark and compare some light and throw of the three different REIN versions. And then we'll wrap up with the use case for each and what platform I found they work best on. Now, as all the different REIN lights come with the same stuff, let's just start by unboxing the REIN 3.0 because it's the newest one. But mostly because I lost the footage of the other two somewhere else.
Okay, so here we are opening the REIN 1.0? Wait a minute.
Wow, okay. So I do still have that, but no, play the new one.
Okay, here we are with the correct REIN 3.0 packaging. It's pretty simple. Is there anything on here? No, I don't think so. All right, so we can get this open. If I get the front flap open. There we go. Here we see I got the FDE version. It's kind of the same way they package all the different three versions. It's kind of the same way with the light kind of sticking out like this. It's pretty cool. I like the way it looks, and that FDE looks really nice. Okay, pulling this out of here, we got, what is this? What's all tied? Oh, we got the silly little switch in the back. Okay, so then we have our actual light. We'll go over this in detail, but you can see this Surefire Scout configuration and then the actual switch that comes with it. I'll go over how all this works with the momentary and continuous on and off. We'll talk about all that in detail and show all the different versions. But for now, let's see what else comes in here. Here's the actual parts of the switch to attach it. It only comes in Picatinny. I don't know. I don't know if I love that. Sometimes it's annoying. What else in here? Oh, this is the Picatinny mount that's included. This thing, I have one of these sitting over here on the table already put together that's not on a light. I don't love this. It's just huge in the way and just reminds me of my dad for like every reason. Let's just put that away. All right, then what else do we have in here? We have the actual charger, which is a Nightcore charger, no big deal. And then we have our 18650 battery. This is what all the full-size lights use. The micro ones use the 18350s. Now, I just want to show you this bit so you can see how the batteries are oriented. I'll take the head of the light off here, right off the light body. And you can see the battery oriented inside. And you can see how it's sitting with the positive on the top and then the negative on the bottom of the light. Just in case you're wondering how it all goes together, and then you just put the head back on. And then you can just make sure the light works. Let me just test it real quick because I haven't tested this one yet. Yep, and you have the switch on the back of the light, and then we'll go over the other switches later. Yep, all works.
Now though, between the REIN 3.0 and the 1.0, they probably made some changes or some small updates, but they're mostly all the same stuff and mostly all the same packaging. Now though, let's move on to the next thing and look at the actual REIN housing itself. On all three REIN versions, you're gonna find the same basic parts. If we break them down, first we have the flashlight head. This is the part that anyone over the age of 7 enjoys the most. The next part is the central body that houses the battery, and all REIN versions offer the same mount with the Surefire Scout screw configuration. All REIN full-size versions use 18650 batteries, and the micros like my 2.0 use 18350 batteries. Now, the Rein 3.0 is dual fuel, so you could use two CR123 batteries if you wanted significantly lower output, and if for some reason you're married to one of the worst batteries possible. But the 18650 is rechargeable, it's included with the light, and makes significantly better light output, so just say no to the CR123s. Each light body also includes battery adjustments to keep the battery tight to remove flickering from the battery bouncing back and forth. Then on the last part of the housing is the switch portion that contains the rear battery lead that can be installed in 4 different configurations for wire management. All Reins have the same rear cap that connects into the pressure switch that has a constant on click button and a separate momentary on button. The momentary on is the unlabeled button, and the constant on is the button with the Cloud logo. And it's nice that I can feel as to which switch is momentary and which one is constant on, but I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this switch because sometimes I want to have the flexibility to use some other options when the setup configuration gets a lot more complicated, like on a night vision setup. But it's not a mod button, so we have that as a bonus. And each of the Rein versions also have some very small differences in the switch, but now that you have some basic info about each of the lights, let's go over each of them in detail and show all the differences in all the 3 different basic parts. Looking first at the head of the Rein 1.0, we see the original used a more rounded head design with a knurled ring to get a solid grip on the light head. The head of the 1.0 also has this wavy tooth design along the front of the housing. The head of the 2.0 I have here is actually a 2.0 micro, but you can see a significant jump in design as the head ditches the original knurled ring and uses more of a slotted design that is accented by this multicam tropic wreath wrap I have on it. The front of the 2.0 is a more standard design and no longer has that wavy tooth thing that the 1.0 had. Then we have the head of the 3.0 that is the same basic design as the 2.0, but with some different dimensions since it's the full-size version. The bezel on the front of the head also seems to be significantly smaller on the 3.0 compared to the 2.0 version. Really though, I'd have a hard time telling the difference between like the 2.0 full-size head and a 3.0 full-size head. But since my 2.0 is the micro version, it's pretty easy to sort out. Alright though, next let's do the boring part and compare the bodies. Here we see all the Reins are pretty super similar with very little changes in the body design over the different generations. You see the same basic design with the Cloud Defensive logo. The biggest difference is the knurled ring on the 1.0 that is not carried over into the 2.0 and 3.0 versions. And personally, I think it looks a lot sleeker without that knurled ring. The other main difference is that the lugs of the 2.0 and 3.0 are shorter to get a tighter mounting with the light body. And the 1.0 just seems like it's way out there, particularly if you add on that Picatinny mount that all of our grandpas just love. Next we have the rear of the light, which is again pretty uneventful with extremely similar designs, but the 1.0 has that knurled ring we mentioned and the 2.0 and 3.0 are almost identical. And I'm pretty sure after seeing some stuff Cloud was talking about that there's some pretty significant differences with like the spring and the switches though. And I have full faith that somebody out there will be as annoying as possible in the comment section and tell us all about it. Now I do want to show you some pretty small but possibly significant changes to the switch though. As we first look at the 1.0, we see the switch has an outside ring around each button to protect from negligent discharge. And negligent discharge, or ND as you'll probably hear it in most of the tactical community, means like bumping into or activating the light by mistake and then giving away your entire position. But I will say with the surrounded design of the 1.0 buttons, you gotta be pretty deliberate in your button press, as you can just push down on the hard plastic edges and nothing actually turns on. Looking at the 2.0 version, we see the fully captured switch was changed to give ND protection on the outside edges of the switch only. This allows the user to be able to press each of the buttons in a lower position and move between them easier while still offering ND protection in the directions you need it. Then on the switch of the 3.0, well, I think it's identical to the 2.0. It looks identical. I did study it for a while on the website, and there wasn't anything listed of any significant changes to the switch on the 3.0 version. And they certainly feel exactly the same. So those are the physical difference between the 3 different Rein versions. The 2 and 3 are almost identical, and the 1.0 is a more simplistic style. But unless you have them all side by side, it's pretty hard to spot the differences, particularly between the 2.0 and 3.0 versions. Alright though, let's keep moving and let's go mount this thing all up. And I know I keep mentioning it, but I'm not entirely sure why all the Rein lights include the same horrible Picatinny mount. And I think it's so they can say that there's a mount that's included, but it's really bad. To connect it up though, you install the screws into the bottom of the light, then connect the 2 cross bolts to allow you to tighten the Picatinny clamp. But since most people since 2003 run M-LOK, this means I also have to run a Picatinny adapter. So then I have a Picatinny adapter with this huge mount on it, and this configuration just makes your lights stick out way to the side. The end product just looks a bit ridiculous. Thankfully, the Cloud Defensive website includes some solid M-LOK aftermarket options with their Torrent series, and they make for a much more solid connection than the included poop mount. I purchased the M-LOK inline and put it on my short NV build. And then I got the M-LOK SBR mount and put it on the long-range gun to run a few different configurations with different illuminators. And yeah, I realize that's kind of backwards, but some illuminators like the D-Ball D2 just don't play nice with lefties and that side mounting. And I just also want to say that Arasaka also makes some great mounts if you're looking for some clean and easy solutions. And in reality, since the Rein uses the standard Surefire Scout mount configuration, there's just a ton of aftermarket options, and that's a good sign because all the included Picatinny ones are going in the trash after this video. Alright, what are we doing next? Alright, so now we actually get to do the part we all came here for and go out and test them. So what I'm going to do is wait till it gets dark out and then we'll run through some different tests for the lights. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to watch it along with you and comment on it in real time. So let's go check it out.
All right, so first up is our Rein 1.0, and this has our 60,000 candela and 1400 lumens. Now, as we compare these, I want you to think about more of the candela, the 60,000 candela, not so much the lumens. Here you can see it's got a pretty bright throw to it. The cone isn't really that defined in the center. And when we go out to that further distance, like out to the left where I was, that's actually like 500, 600 yards. Now here we have the Rein 2.0. This is a bit diminished because this is the micro. Now the micro has 6,300 candelas and 950 lumens, so significantly less lumens, but more candela here. And you can see the cone is a little more defined in this version. There's a little bit less light. It seems like it's not as bright as we go out to that 500 or 600 yard ranges, but it also isn't so insanely bright that it can't be used like indoors or at some closer distances. I really do prefer this light with its spill for some closer ranges, as it just seems to be a lot nicer to the eye when you look around. While I can still see out way out in those ranges and those see that ridge, that 500 or 600 yard ridge out there, that I can still make out stuff pretty well out there. Then it just doesn't blind the epic crap out of me. All right, and then we have the Rein 3.0, and look at this laser beam. This is 100,000 candela and 1,250 lumens. Now, what's interesting is this is actually less lumens than the Rein 1.0, but just look at that. I mean, you're just shooting a little tiny spotlight out there at 600 yards. You can see everything out there really easily. I'm betting the neighbors aren't extremely happy about this test, but it's just crazy. Now, let's compare a couple different ones. Here's our Rein 1.0 against the Rein 3.0. Now, what's so crazy is you can see that the Rein 1.0 actually has more lumens, but the Rein 3.0 has like double the candela. I mean, just look at that spot that it just burns in. It's just so insanely bright from both the close range and at distance. It's just wildly different. Okay, here there is the Rein 1.0, and this is versus the 2.0 micro. Now, it's similar in what they can do. It just seems like the 2.0 micro, again, I really do prefer it for some closer ranges. There's the 3.0 just coming in out of nowhere to just blind everyone. I'm hoping you're seeing kind of the differences here. They're pretty stark between the three of them. But again, the 2.0 micro, it's probably not the perfect for the distance, but you could just bust out that Rein 3.0 and highlight anything you want out there. I just think that may be too bright for some closer range distances. But let's try it out a little bit closer, kind of show you how that looks. Here's the Rein 1.0. These trees are about, I don't know, 25 yards, maybe 30 away from me. So anything inside of that, you're probably just going to blind the hell out of yourself. And here I like where the Rein 2.0 Micro is just a softer, easier to use light. Like I keep talking about, this is my favorite for like an indoor light. It spills everywhere. And then, of course, again, the 3.0 is just there to remove any night vision you may possibly have. But look how it cuts through the trees, though. Like it's cutting straight through those trees and those gaps to all those areas right behind there. It's just insane, the light penetrating power this is having. Let's show all three of them together. So here's our Rein 1.0, and then here, if I can figure out how to bring in the 2.0 Micro, if I can figure it out. There we go. Putting it in the center there. They're very similar. And then just look at that crazy center spot of the Rein 3.0.
So what I found really interesting is the different like throw and cone patterns really led each of the different Reins to have some pretty significantly different use cases. So let me kind of go over how I would set them up. For the Rein 1.0, this is a good general purpose light. Commendable throw with a cone that isn't too tight or too blown out. I feel like this would work perfectly on any 14 or 16 inch setups. The Rein 2.0 Micro I found to have a bit less throw, but a much wider cone. And its shorter stature made it a far more ideal setup for a shorter range platform such as my 12.5 NV configuration. The Rein 2.0 full size would also do extremely well on the same 14 to 16 inch platforms also if you prefer the 2.0 design and upgraded switch. For the Rein 3.0, this is more suited for a long range platform. The super tight cone and longer throw makes it ideal to see objects at an incredible distance when you're willing to sacrifice field of view for a longer distance. And after all the testing on this video, I'm absolutely going to swap out the Rein 1.0 that I have on my long range setup for the Rein 3.0 because that setup just makes a lot more sense in that configuration. And I do even have a sweet multicam black Reese wrap to add to it that I'm pretty excited about. But I hope this comparison of the Rein 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 versions was helpful in your purchasing decisions. Now please sound off in the comments as to see what other lights you want to see compared to these, and then maybe we can get a whole series going. I will tease you now that the HRT light definitely gives the Rein 2.0 a run for its money for sure. So let me know what light's your favorite for sure, and let's go test it out. But I want to say thanks to all of our Patreon supporters and all of our YouTube members. You guys make all this possible, and I love the community we have and all the fun giveaways and everything that we get to do. I mess this part up every time. I also want to say thanks to everyone that likes, comments, and subscribes. Please, as I've said, comment down below as to what your favorite lights are and what lights you want me to compare the Reins to. All right, everyone, Walsh out. You gotta let me know your thoughts on the beard too. Trying something new. All right, everybody, later. Oh yeah, we're inside because it's snowing outside. And this is in 4K. Upgrades.